8:01, having fun. Woo!
Are you sad that we don't have cheering?
Thank you.
Hello, Brain Candy Podcast. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Suze. How you doing?
Real good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I feel like it would be doing our listeners a disservice if they didn't hear about your tales from your trip.
Oh my gosh.
That boat ride from hell.
It really was. That's why the Gilligan's thing really cracked me up, because like that's what it felt like. You think you're just going on this.
Are you saying that because I said a 3-hour tour?
No, because I put that as the music on one of the Instagram.
That must be why I had it in my head, because I was like, I talked to you about you set me up for that. Got it. Yeah.
Well, and I'm not into it. I just keep getting sucked into these fishing excursions because my son loves it so much. He loves that. It's all he talks about. So I'm not going to say no. Right. It's just sort of like, yeah, let's do it. And then, when you're dealing with Mother Nature,
right,
you never know how it's going to go. So it really did crack me up. If you did not see my Instagram story, we went on this boat, and first it was just bad conditions. So first Adam got sick, puking up a storm. Then Lincoln got sick, although he wouldn't admit it, but he's like vomiting. So
the photo said otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, when he was like passed out, there are so many pictures that I could have posted that are hilarious, but I would be like, let's go back. Who cares? It's fine. Right. Let's just go back. And he'd be like, I'm fine. And then I told Sarah, the funny thing about it is that the story that I put on my Instagram is all true. They got sick. I did not. I'm standing there like a goon for 4 hours, and Lincoln caught a fish, so he was happy. But then right after that, and Adam is still down for the count at this point. I'm just out there with Lincoln and the fucking first mate or whatever they call him. And and we got hit with a 10-foot wave. And I
can't believe never in my life have I seen a 10-foot wave on a boat.
It was scary.
That's humongous. That's like, what is that fisherman show? Or they?
I know. What is that called? Big
what is
Catch
that
or
called?
Something?
Yes.
The heck is it?
Something catch.
Yeah. Worst catch. That's what this was.
Yeah.
But it was like, for real, call me Ishmael, Moby Dick style, like tossing me around this boat like a rag doll, Raggedy Ann over here. And before we started recording, I pulled down my pants for Sarah. I'm tempted to do it again and just have Andrea, the editor, censor it. Because it's about the size of a dinner plate.
No, it is. Bruises. It looks like somebody I told Susie, it looks like it, because it's like almost too big of bruises for it to even be a baseball. So it looks like you were just target practice for like a professional softball team.
Yeah.
You were just taking like whacks at the back of your thighs.
Purple bruises on my back of my thigh, like by my rump. And
rump is such a funny word for butt. Also, we need to bring that back more.
And I knew it was going to be bad, but you know how bruises are. It takes a minute and then they develop.
Oh.
And then so later on the trip when we went to the pool, I was like, this is so embarrassing.
Right.
Because I'm just trying to look nice, presentable with my 44-year-old ass. And there's I looked like someone on intervention. You know how they always have bruises?
Yeah. Yes. Anytime it's like random bruises, it's like, ooh, what's your iron intake looking like? Yeah.
I mean, this is love. I told the first mate that, whatever he's called, Captain. I was like, I said, this is love. I do not enjoy this one bit. And he's like, you look like you would just want to be reading. And I'm like, how did you know?
How did he know?
Maybe the brain candy hoodie gave me away.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, it was funny. Whatever.
I'm glad you survived. I do think you should put some pictures of that up on our close friends, because it's definitely worth it. And I also feel like now we need to get a sign in the studio that says like days since injury.
What is wrong with me?
Between like you cutting your thumb off and just getting
your
tossed around by
surgery.
waves. I'm getting punched in the eye by my own microphone.
No, but for real, what is wrong with us?
For real. That's what I'm what the heck?
Because
We need to
all of
change our
mine
vibes.
sober as a judge. Like this isn't some sort of like my family member told me about in the AA community, they have something called a Mary.
What's
a mysterious alcohol related injury. These were not Marys.
These are not Marys.
Sober.
I will say I do have, as somebody with ADHD, I didn't know this was a thing with people with ADHD, but we tend to have bad spatial awareness, especially with our bodies and spaces. So we will run into the corners of things, and I will have bruises right around my table height of anything, because I will hit the corner of every single, like I take corners. And I was in Barnes & Noble the other day. I knocked down an entire shelf of books because I took a corner and they were all stacked up right on the edge. And I just took the corner and it caught my sweat and I flipped them all down, making a scene at the old Barnes & Noble.
I would think you were making that up, but because of it, Lincoln.
Yeah.
Whenever I talk about how I'm a helicopter parent, it's not for no reason. Like he has, we say he has dyspraxia, which is like basically pathological clumsiness.
Oh my God. That's so funny. You've already taught me so much on this episode. The words for things.
About my dysfunctional life.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, let's dive into some fun things to talk about. Oh God, except some not fun things to talk about.
Wait, can you tell me, did you watch Quiet on the Set?
That is the first thing on my list, Susie Meister.
I knew you'd want to talk about it. I knew it. It's intense, man.
It is so fucking intense. I cried my eyes out watching it. I have so much compassion for Amanda Bynes and for everyone on that show. And this speaks to a problem that I can only imagine is in every industry where there are vulnerable people that are being, I don't know, used, or anything where you have a vulnerable population, whether it be people working with children, people working with the elderly, people working with people who are disabled.
Well, you need a lot of infrastructure in place to counteract human evilness.
Yes.
And just error and neglect and things that can happen naturally. Like you have to have checks and balances, man.
Yes. This makes me think, if there are waters, and your boating story kind of made me think this, if there are waters on a beach that are more dangerous, they put up flags. They recognize this is different than maybe this calm little lagoon over here. So here we have the lifeguard stand. Here we have the emergency station. Here we put it close enough to a phone, if whatever it is, like popular surf spots. I feel like when we know that there are dangers in this specific area that are different than maybe in other parts of the field, like say adult television programming that doesn't feature children, then it is the responsibility of that production company, the whole network, everybody involved, to put those extra safety measures there, because we're like, we recognize this is like, I don't know, shark infested waters in a way. And we're going to do extra things here to protect this. You're
right about it. You're right about that. There's no doubt. The trouble is, one of the problems is that instead of being shark infested waters, it appears to the world like paradise.
Right.
That's where everyone wants to be.
Well, that's kind of like why the ocean's like that. Well, they don't understand the power and the dangers that are there. So it is like the responsibility of people who aren't like looking at it like paradise.
Right. But if the public
Yeah.
sees it as the goal, fame and fortune.
Yeah, I see. Yes.
Right?
Not the environment, but the actual result of participating.
What you get, the reward.
Yes.
It's not a shark attack. It's
You're
a lottery.
totally right.
Yeah.
Yes. That makes it much harder.
The word that kept ringing in my head was desperation. Like anytime you have people who are desperate to get something, which is like anyone in the entertainment industry is desperate for a job, whether it's behind or in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Well, then you can have people that are taking the advantage of that.
Yeah. Oh, and I feel like anyone who works on set with a child must pass a background check and absolutely 100% must be life scanned and fingerprint, like no question.
Were you
no ifs, ands, or
shocked
buts.
by the like celebrities and stuff that were supporting this predator in the courtroom?
I'm like, check all of them, go through their search history too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I kind of grapple with that a little bit. Like one of the things that I thought that made me feel like there could be, I don't know, like another side of the story was the woman who spoke out after she found out.
Joanna Kearns,
the truth. And she said, I would absolutely never have written that.
Yeah, he was clearly slick.
So whatever he's saying to them, and that matters. That matters with especially some of the language where it said, like he was put in situations.
He was tempted.
Tempted. That kind of language made me think that the language that he was using to even ask for this letter was...
Maybe we could do without those letters.
I mean, they've never been helpful. They've only helped in bad time. And then they come out later and we're like, what the fuck were these people? You know who am I allowed to just talk about what celebrities I'm suspicious of and have worries about? I always get nervous. But you know who I have a lot of questions about is Ashton Kutcher. Well,
you met him and you said that you caught a vibe.
Yes, I did.
And you're very in tune with like your gut.
Yeah, it kind of felt like if somebody who was high on cocaine asked me to get into a car with them, and I was like, I don't know if I want to this seems very dangerous. I'm not getting in the car with you. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no, we're not spending the night here. I'm out of here. We're going home. Mm-hmm. We got to go.
Yeah. Did he just give you that weird, creepy vibe?
Manicky and some, but there's stories about him where he had a girlfriend or somebody who died.
Yeah.
And he was the last one or it was very mysterious and there are just a lot of...
I think what you're pointing to is like the smoke fire thing where if somebody sort of constantly ends up being around like weird situations.
This is what I'm saying.
Well,
yep. And, you know, I've always heard that you can judge a person by their 5 best friends and that you are an average of the people that you spend, 5 people you spend the most time with. And I just wonder about the company. That I think we have to look at who hangs out with these people in the same way we were about like Jeffrey Epstein. We're like, who the fuck was on those planes? This is how I feel about this. Who the fuck went to those parties? And who the fuck is going to Disneyland with the freaking kids with Drake Bell? Drake Bell.
Well, I don't know. I can give you a list of reasons that I love Mad Rabbit tattoo care. Mm-hmm. So
if you're somebody who has a tattoo, keeping them looking fresh.
Yeah.
It's like part of the self-care routine.
Yes. Well, this is something I didn't know when I got my tattoos.
Oh, yeah. That they're going to age.
They age. And if you don't take care of them, it's not good.
Yeah. We're talking sunscreen.
Remember, I even asked you about this. Like, I remember I was going to get one. And I really love that there was
a trend, yes, like the very fine
thin.
line.
Yeah. And you were like, Suze.
And I was like, nope.
Sarah's an expert.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me tell you, I've had tattoos that I've taken care of, and I've had tattoos that I have not taken care of. And you could tell the difference.
There's evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so here's the deal. Mad Rabbit will help you keep those babies looking good. Whether it's a new tattoo or an old tattoo.
Yes.
It will replenish and preserve the ink. Mm-hmm. And they use clean and natural ingredients. It's effective on all of those tats. So, like, even if you're like, Suze, they're past their prime. It is not too late.
It's like their tattoo balm. You rub it on there. It's like an enhancing tattoo balm, and it makes it look like nice and bright, even after just one time you use it.
94% of people reported Mad Rabbit helped preserve their tattoos' depth. 88% reported their tattoos' contrast appeared more vibrant. And 87% reported their tattoos appeared more intense. That is a big deal. That is a lot of people.
Yeah, and guess what? Tattoos are not cheap. So
that's right.
You want to like treat them nice and take care of them because
your body's a temple.
That's right.
Now is the time to try out Mad Rabbit. I love that we have a new partner. They've preserved over 3 million tattoos, and they've got an exclusive offer just for Brain Candy listeners. If you go to madrabbit.com/braincandy25 and use promo code BrainCandy25, you'll receive 25% off. That's 25% off when you head to madrabbit.com/BrainCandy25 and use our promo code BrainCandy25. I'm very tempted to get a 99.
Oh, do it.
I might.
But I feel like that might have a gang affiliation.
Oh my gosh, I better check.
I think actually it does. Let me
for
look.
Pete's sake. All right. Well, if I do, I'll use Mad Rabbit.
I loved the story about Drake Bell's girlfriend's mother, who, that's when everything got blown up. I was
impressed with her.
I loved this story. And this is like, that's because a survivor knows a survivor. So I can imagine that she has her own stories and she was able to, I just know that she has seen this before.
She smelled a rat.
She smelled a rat. And he said she knew in 5 minutes with that something was wrong. And the way she handled it, and you know, the man who was abusing Drake Bell invited him to go to Disneyland, and he didn't ignore the message, didn't show up, and was giving all these excuses. And he just kept calling and calling and calling this man. And the mom was like, come talk to me for a minute, invites him into the kitchen, and which I think is so smart. You don't do it in front of the girlfriend. She did it privately. It sounds like this woman was very smart about helping this young boy. 15, please. And I also think that maybe Justin Bieber is a victim of sexual abuse too in this system. I've seen some pictures recently, and I'm just like,
it's that feeling of like something ain't right.
Something ain't right. That he's been victimized. That I just get the vibe. I think that's going to come out later.
I'll tell you, his connection to like the sort of evangelical celebrity thing with Hillsong.
Yep.
And the various celebrity pastors and stuff. I get it. I can totally see whether or not he was abused. I have no idea. Yeah. I'm just saying that when you've been in the entertainment industry since you have any memories at all, you're probably seeking, a life raft or whatever, where this is a healthy outlet or a place, a refuge away from this exploitative whatever.
Yes.
And it's sad because that's not actually true. It isn't that, because if humans are involved,
right?
I got bad news for you. But I could see why you'd be drawn to that.
Yeah. 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 So it was so difficult but important to watch. I was absolutely captivated by it. You did not undersell it in any way. I hope that everybody listening has watched it, because I do feel like it's important for everybody to watch. But it is making me like, I used to love the All That theme song, and now listening to the All That theme song makes me a little nauseous, makes me like, I get that icky, very specific feeling. Oh, I have it right now. It just makes me so sad. And it just made me think a lot about that transition from child star to adult star, how difficult that is. After she was on, there's like some celebrity boot camp military style challenge that JoJo Siwa was on, and she crushed it. And she like threw one of the guys from Vanderpump Rules like over her shoulder and like marched him across the finish line. It was so badass. So I was following her on Instagram, and she's done this whole like rebranding, relaunch, as like I'm this like, and it's very like S&M style, like very sexually. She's leading with her sexuality. We'll put it that way. And I was thinking a lot about that, how a lot of the people who were on these shows on Nickelodeon have done that transition, and how messy that is and how difficult that is. And I was trying to think of an example of somebody who hasn't had a slip up or hasn't had.
Yeah, it's Zendaya.
Oh, what a fucking good example.
I mean, I don't know who her team is.
It's the parents. What? It's got to be. It's like, right? What?
It's both though, because like there's a professional transition that is hard to do. I love how you
just had that name, like,
because I've been thinking about it.
Okay, we've been thinking about the same things. Yeah.
There's a professional transition that it has to be very intentional, because you have to like slowly show the public a different person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that can be done in a million bad ways. But then also you kind of, like you're saying, have to have the personal support of just like a foundation of a good family or whatever that makes you know who you are separate from all of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to do.
It's so hard to do.
Yeah. I mean, Dakota Fanning would be maybe another kid that's sort of like, wow,
yeah,
that worked out so far.
Yeah.
She's hanging in there.
I think that's such like an interesting thing to explore and even like dive into further about what the people who look like they've made it out relatively unscathed, like have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because, well, having supportive parents, yes, but sometimes like that's something that often we're not in control of. So that can be, you know, I think about that from Quiet on the Set. It was Drake's dad.
How great was that dad?
Oh,
he reminded me of Adam.
He's what made me cry.
About him. Yeah.
I could cry right now. He is what made me cry, because I was like, that dad was so good and so supportive. I just loved him.
And he knew.
Yeah.
And he had that same gut feeling, and he tried to act on it. But predators, when you have a family that's gone through divorce or whatever, it's fractured, they can exploit that.
That is exactly, yes.
You know, so even though he knew and he was like
right
all over it, well, if you drive a wedge there and then he's with his mom, well, that's you're in.
That's exactly what happens. Is they just find any crack and then take advantage of. That's the more like layers and maybe like the intersectionality of like vulnerable people, where you're a child and you're also a child of divorce, or you have maybe a parent who's mentally ill or whatever it may be, that, you know, or somebody with addiction that's like not paying attention.
Why do you think Jeanette McCurdy in her book didn't explicitly name Dan Schneider? And even now she won't comment.
I think fear of like some sort of retaliation or.
But remember in the book where she said she was asked to sign a non-disclosure, and if she did, she was going to get whatever amount of money, $500,000 or something. And she said no. And so she refused to sign that, but then didn't actually expose the person that...
Or maybe she didn't want to make that the center of the book, that would make it... Like, think about Rebel Wilson, her book. Is it Rebel Wilson? Maybe.
She has a book coming out.
Yeah, and she talked about somebody who was unnamed in the book, and then it came out that was Sacha Baron Cohen, who, like, said some really fucked up shit about her, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is now the center of the book rather than her story.
Mm-hmm.
which is good marketing because now I want to read the book. But I feel like if I could imagine that maybe this is Sarah's got a theory over here of why you wouldn't mention it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they all should come out and talk about everybody should say everything. I want everybody to say everything. And we should have listened to Amanda Bynes when she was saying all the things she was saying. And now I believe every single word she said.
What was she saying?
Oh, so her parents, when she was in a conservatorship, her parents did not, they monitored all of her Twitter posts. And so she made a fake Twitter
I
account.
saw that.
And on that account, she said, my parents are stealing my money. She said I was impregnated by one of the higher ups. And then I had an abortion. I believe that.
You believe that her parents were stealing her money?
I believe that they were maybe in some way financially manipulative. And I believe that she's not lying when she said that she was impregnated by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I fully fucking believe that.
Yeah.
Which would result in that kind of break if everybody's not believing you. And that's the fucking worst thing in the world, when you're not believed and when you have to make a fake account to be like, this is some bullshit. And oh my God, it's like a recipe for that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel guilty for the things that I have said in without knowing.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me so sad. And I want the best for her. I really want her to have all the support in the world.
Well, we're getting real serious and everything, so I don't have a super cute segue like usual. But one thing I can trust is AG1. Super supportive for me. Every morning, this is my routine. You just pour AG1 into your water and you're getting all the multivitamins, immune support, all the good stuff in one scoop. Some people don't like a bunch of rigmarole. They just want to keep it simple. So this would be great for you. I'm a routine kind of gal. So this is every morning, just make this and it starts my day off right. I love it. I love a routine. I love that book, Atomic Habits, where you build one habit on top of the next. Snowballs. Before you know it, you're living your best life. We've partnered with AG1 for so long because they make such a high quality product. We genuinely look forward to drinking every day. So if you want to replace your multivitamin and more, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/braincandy. That's drinkag1.com/braincandy. Check it out.
Yeah, that's... So everybody needs to check out that documentary. And
it's very, very disturbing, so compelling. And it took real courage to come out and talk about all that, I think.
Yeah.
Because you do get blackballed.
Absolutely you do. And they all talked about it. That oh God. And the fact that you have to choose a career or your safety.
Mm-hmm.
Two different kinds of safety: financial safety or physical safety,
and
mental well-being. And that's fucked up. So what was I going to ask? Oh, this is what I was going to say. What I wish is that they did more time talking about how things were different now, because I don't think they really anybody.
I don't think they are different.
I don't think that's what made me nervous. Because
I think Nickelodeon's response has been hollow.
Yeah, very. Hollow is such a good word for it.
We've made some improvements in their care. You should be more upset that your cast was being...
They don't fucking care because they made a bunch of money. They made so much money. And those sick feet jokes and when you see everything back to back to back, it is insane to me that this made it on the air. Very blatant cum shot jokes. I can't believe it. Is it that they thought they were writing for 15-year-old boys, and they think 15-year-old boys laugh at this shit. Because maybe they do, but
maybe. But it seemed like it was just an inside joke, like where they were getting on, like Dan Schneider was so real into it. But like, you know how I just said it takes such courage to come forward? Mm-hmm. I have the opposite feeling about people, and maybe it's not fair to feel like the victims should have a responsibility, but it bothers me that like Ariana Grande is silent.
It bothers me too. It bothers me with somebody who has that much. It would be one thing if you were somebody still trying to make it in the business and this would really disrupt your career. But I think this will, in a way, help her career by speaking out and saying that I support these. Like, what is going on?
Like, she doesn't want to be associated with it, but it's too late, ma'am.
Way too late. Every single person needs to be speaking out. And Kenan Thompson was even a little like, oh, I need to know more about it. Really? I don't.
Yeah, he said he feels it's like ambivalence where, you know, he's glad that they're speaking their truth, but he had a positive experience, which I totally understand because maybe you saw none of that and it was just like good times, great oldies. But then this should reframe it.
Yeah.
Like it should, you know how we are always doing that as adults. We're looking back on our childhood.
Well, and I was just going to say that this is kind of how we are on the challenge. And we talk about that and how we want people to, even new participants, to take the experiences of things that have happened and allow that to maybe reframe their
Well, because it can be both.
So, yeah. Yes,
and
exactly.
Both are true. And I don't know. I just think the same way that I look back on my childhood and maybe something that didn't bother me at the time, I'll look back and be like, whoa, that was weird. Yeah. You can do that, Kenan.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And you were a child at the time. So nobody was asking you to like jump in and protect anybody. But I think it's, you know, important to like stand by and support the people who are saying this because not doing that feels like you're siding with the perpetrators.
Yeah.
And how about how the guy's last name was Handy? We should
totally
know. I was like, oh my God. I think I texted that to you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't fucking believe.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Red flag.
One of our listeners is going to be like, my last name is Handy and I'm just good at repairing things.
But this is what I felt about Anthony Weiner. It was right there in front of us the whole time. Come on.
Oh, gosh. The writing's on the wall on his ID. Oh, man. Okay, well, I'll skip over my next story for later because it's like too sad to come after this one. Or should I just do it now since we're already on the... I
would take it to Levity Town.
Okay, we're going to take it to Levity Town.
Yeah.
Okay. Then... Okay. Oh, this is going to be uplifting. There's a guy in Ireland who has invented this fluid. It's called ferrofluid. It's probably been around. He used some molecular components and mix them together. It's like biologist or whatever they do. Found this metallic fluid called ferrofluid that binds to microplastics when you put it in the water. So you can put it in the water, mix it up. It goes in and attaches to all the microplastics, and then this ferrofluid is magnetic. So all you have to do is hold a magnet over the water, drag a magnet through it, and it collects all of the microplastics, removes it up to 85% of them, and makes the water drinkable. And it's only getting better. They're only improving it, and they're saying that it can be scaled up and used in drinking supply, this seems very promising. I'm very excited about this.
I'm really glad you are. You're always so optimistic, but I've been hearing about these breakthroughs for fucking 8 years with you now.
Yeah.
And
I have been talking a lot about that.
Well, because you're always like, good news. They found a bacteria that eats plastic.
I did say that. So now we want to know how they're reusing them.
Yeah. Where's the scale?
Because how big this can be scaled up and they show pictures of like water treatment plants, but then all these tests are in little cups.
Yeah.
This is a good point.
We're emptying the ocean with a teaspoon.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
But in that teaspoon, there will be less microplastics, Susie.
It'll be very clean in there.
Yeah. So I'm
how are they going to scale this? What are they going to do?
Well, the good thing is this Ferrofluid can be reused. So once it scoops up all of the microplastics, then you can filter out the microplastics, recycle them into plastic, and then reuse this fluid. So they just have to get mass amounts of this fluid and use this to treat, like in water treatment facilities. Almost like I could imagine what we would do is make a filter out. Mm-hmm. I'm making this up right now, but
no,
this
now
is how
I'm into it.
Now you're into it, right? Because now it's like turned into Sarah's 6th grade science project.
Yeah, sounds
so
good.
Like, what if you had a water treatment facility and you made like a filter that was lined or just made of like a water filter that was made of this ferromagnetic fluid, and then you passed all the regular water through that. It collects.
Sounds pretty good.
Comes out the other side. It's just like another layer of filtration, and they already got to be doing stuff to filter out the nasty shit in our water anyway. So it's just like swapping one thing out for another. The problem is like it probably takes a long time for these things to get like.
That's what I mean.
And then you got that red tape bullshit where it's like somebody's got to vote on it, and like. Meanwhile, we'll probably all be dead by the time it all passes.
Right.
Oh, no, you asked for levity, and look what we've done.
Doom and gloom.
Susie.
For real. Because it's like...
Sorry.
I don't know, man. We just aren't keeping up fast enough.
Yeah.
With the trouble.
Yeah. But I do feel like these things are hopeful. I do think that when... we hear things like this, there's, I don't know, like some sort of hope for.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Things, and then things to build on it. Like that's.
You know what I would like better, to be honest, though, is something that would prevent us from having so many microplastics everywhere all the time.
Right.
And that is not happening.
Right. And it's like, oh, great, you're taking them out. Well, we're simultaneously putting so many more back in.
That's what I mean.
That's actually a really good point.
We need to stop
now it's in like
it
breast
before.
milk and shit.
Oh, yeah. And in utero, 100% of the babies they tested had microplastics in their system already.
Oh, God.
In utero.
Jeez.
Because it's everywhere, man. And
yeah.
That's why A.J. Jacobs did that. I think it was an article, maybe New York Times, where he tried to avoid plastic for.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But and in some ways it's so useful. Like on a plane, it's so much lighter and it helps us use less fuel. I mean, it is cost benefit. It's not just like plastic is evil.
Right.
Whatever. But we do need to prevent some of these microplastics from.
Yeah.
And Temu, you're not helping.
I fucking hate it. Yeah.
Temu or whatever
I'm
it's
done
called.
with any of that stuff. Nothing disposable. Like, yeah.
And it's so tempting because it's so affordable for folks.
It's hard. We got a lot of reversing to do.
I'll tell you what is affordable, and that is pair eyewear.
Yeah, because you get one plus, it's like buy one, get 20 free.
Right, because, okay, so you pick your frame.
Yeah.
That looks good, like flattering on your face, and whatever color, black, brown, whatever. But then,
yes,
you get the magnetic pop-on.
Yep,
toppers,
and they're not free. Don't be crazy. I mean,
well, no, come on, it's not a charity for Pete's sake.
But you don't have to buy a whole new set of glasses. You just pop one,
including, as Sarah always points out, sunglasses.
Yep, you can go from day to night to novelty fun to sunny day outside.
It's so awesome. So like you can have your prescription frames and then just pop on the sunglasses when you're driving or whatever. It's so great. They start at $60. I mean, it's getting sunny out there, people. Sunshine, summertime. Every color you can imagine, every style you can imagine. One pair, infinite possibilities.
I might get into bright
Do it.
glasses.
Get quirky frames.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Like yellow.
Yes, be that person.
Yeah.
be bold. Go to paireyewear.com and use code CANDY for 15% off your first pair and support our show by mentioning the Brain Candy Podcast sent you in your post-checkout survey. That's pair, P-A-I-R, eyewear.com, code CANDY. Be over there or what?
Oh my God. Yes. This is very nice. This is wonderful. This is a research that's being done at Stanford University, and it's to help people who struggle with hoarding disorder. So
Right.
1 in 40 Americans are hoarders, and it's something that's very, very difficult to treat. And
How many?
1 in 40. Yes.
That is ridiculous.
No,
Get
and
a
you know
hold of
what?
yourselves, people.
You can see this for yourself. Drive up and down a block, and you will notice that about 1 in 40 houses, maybe if not more, will have either a collection in the front yard that makes you think this
Something.
probably matches on the inside,
Right.
or the other sign that I see is the curtains, like the everything will be closed off. Like you can't see into their house at all. It looks really like I lived on a street where there was somebody where I'm like, there's definitely, I can see the stacks. Like
Yeah.
the you could, because if you haven't tended to the stuff inside your house, you're probably not updating the curtains and
Yeah.
doing that frequently. So often those will be in shambles. And this is a big problem. So the study is being done using VR decluttering. So they create a 3D simulated VR virtual world of their house, of their apartment, of their space, whatever it is. And this allows participants an opportunity to sort through their belongings and practice throwing things out in a way that feels very real and like tangible. And if you've ever used VR before, it feels like you're in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're able to do these very difficult tasks of even sorting out and thinking about organizing their belongings. And it has been very successful. 78% of the participants said that it helped in their hoarding behaviors. And it was especially helpful in the age group that primarily deals with hoarding, which is the elderly. And so the study was done on participants who were 60 to 73 years old. And
why do you think the age is the main one?
I think that it's like
to control the change of
no,
like
it's like a thing that
it
becomes more extreme over time. So it's a coping strategy. It's a way to stay safe and stay protected. And it's like that same strategy. And it's all, I mean, this is also, this is a mental illness. This is something in the mind that says you cannot part with these things or something bad will happen. In the same way, somebody who has OCD says, I have to wash my hands this many times or something bad will happen. Like that's like the big, like, I am safe. I won't be safe if these things go away. I'll fall apart. A lot of times there was a big trauma or something specific that you could point to where it happened. It's sometimes like, I think it's more common in women too. And it may be like the loss of a child or the ending of a relationship or something that they do not have the coping skills to manage. And so this becomes a way to cope. And once that coping strategy gets reinforced and reused so much, it looks different after doing it for 50 years than it does when you've only been doing it for 20.
I know all that you're saying is true.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not controllable. It's not like willpower or something.
Yeah.
Where you can just like try harder.
Right.
But it is really hard if you do not struggle with that.
Yeah. It's very hard if you don't
make sense of it.
Yes.
And it feels hurtful because they usually end up choosing garbage over people.
Right. So it's so important to intervene early before it gets to that point where you can give them strategies like to learn how to part with those items and kind of walk them through that process in a virtual world so that they can it's almost like exposure therapy, which is a lot of what like CBT and exposure therapy, that's a lot of what any therapist would do. So this works really well in conjunction with medication, with behavioral therapy, with like support from families. And it's just like another added thing that
here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love that this is a useful therapy. And many members of my family have severe OCD. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I want them to get better. Okay. So like earlier, I forget what we were talking about. We were talking about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And lately we've been talking about it. And like with this, it's kind of in the same category of like, or even like, to be honest, child predation, where like, I don't think they're choosing to be attracted to children.
An urge.
Like something has gone wrong in their noggin and their wires are crossed and things are looking bad. Okay. Yeah. I get it. But can we like move on from the microplastics even and just like work on that? Because it feels like hopeless that even when we make progress, it's like this thing where it's like, you're never out of the woods. And like, all you can do is like exposure therapy and like, you know, like white knuckling it half the time.
But a lot of these things come from a lack of early intervention and a lack of tools to begin with. So I think you're totally right that what we end up treating is and seeing is the extremes, like the people who have been utilizing these negative coping strategies, ineffective coping strategies for years.
Like to survive. Yeah.
Rather than going in. And this is why it's so fucking annoying and infuriating, more than annoying, when, you know, we've talked before about, I think it was Alabama that outlawed yoga because in classrooms, or meditation in classrooms, because that is literally the fucking tool that we're talking about that prevents this kind of stuff, that gives somebody an outlet. This is how you cope. You're having a bad day. This is how you do it. You're going through some stuff. Let's talk about how to use your mind to like come the fuck on. We need to be doing these interventions and teaching these things to kids.
Yeah, because what they're doing is just being like, just try harder.
Yeah, right.
Instead, which is
giving them no tools.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Then they experience the trauma and then do whatever the brain does to reach for the nearest and easiest and also what they've seen. As like, this is how I'll fix it. Rather than what they should be doing, you know? Oh, my parent reached for the bottle when they were stressed out. So that's how I, in my child mind, have learned to solve problems. Unless you teach them new solving problem skills, I think it's going to be very helpful. And I think it's a way to allow people to feel safe doing something that feels very scary and unsafe for them.
Hey, anytime we can use technology to like do good.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And I think, and even thinking about OCD, like, I feel like you could probably even use this for that. They should do another study where like, okay, let's imagine not washing our hands, like whatever it may be, or let's imagine walking away from this or.
Right. Because the therapies that they enact now are exposure, but in an environment where you don't feel genuinely a threat.
Yeah.
So over time, you become desensitized.
Yeah. I'm hopeful.
Well, as a caregiver of two lovely black felines, I can tell you what makes them happy and hopeful, and that is Small's cat food. This stuff, I do not know. I mean, it is human grade food, so I do know.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
That's so true. It is. And
could you imagine if somebody were like, here's this dry crap?
Here's a pretzel or here's filet.
Come on.
I know.
No, please.
I know. They're so happy. And it's like a running joke because when my family comes over, they see like how excited they are. And you'll see when you come here.
I
It's
can't
crazy.
wait.
It's
I can't
hilarious. I'll have Sarah film it because it is really something to be seen. This is something you should try. And it's risk-free. If you don't like it, you get a refund. So what the heck?
Yeah, what
Try
the heck?
it. But this is a great deal too. Now is the time to make the switch to Smalls. Head to smalls.com/braincandy. Use promo code braincandy at checkout for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's the best offer you'll find.
50% off. That's amazing.
Right.
My friend did it and she was like, Sarah, I feel like I'm stealing from this company. Is this for real? Like everything in my order? I said, yes.
Yes.
Everything.
But you have to use our code BRAINCANDY for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code BRAINCANDY for 50% off your first order plus free shipping.
Okay, here's something else that's like usually something we think negatively about, but there are some positive, turns out there's some positive effects of this.
Okay.
Studies have shown that looking at photos of our loved ones can have many positive effects. And it kind of is maybe like a study that defends all of the photo taking that we're doing.
Okay.
So
let's hear it.
We'll hear a few of these things. So emotional well-being. It improves emotional well-being. Viewing photos of loved ones can evoke positive emotions such as happiness, comfort, sense of belonging that reduces feelings of loneliness and increases overall well-being. Looking at photos of loved ones also helps in stress reduction because it triggers the release of the hormone oxytocin just by looking at the photos. And it also helps increase memory and reminiscence. So photos can serve as a visual reminder of shared experiences and happy moments with loved ones. And viewing the photos can stimulate memory recall and encourage reminiscence, which can be particularly beneficial to individuals experiencing cognitive decline or those dealing with difficult life circumstances. So if you have a relative who maybe is experiencing some signs of Alzheimer's or dementia, bring over a photo album. Just go through some photos with them. That would be like, people are also
They love the oldies.
They love that shit.
They love that. Yeah, like childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, I can remember in those moments with, my grandma was still pretty with it at the end, but even when somebody's older, you're like, what are we going to do together? And I wish I would have had this information then to be able to go, oh, let me just bring over my baby book and flip through that with like the one person who's going to get so stoked about every picture. Because
sorry.
No, you show that to your like significant other and they're like, oh yeah, great. Mm-hmm. Your duck dress. But you show it to my grandma, she'll be like, oh my God, your duck dress.
I was telling Sarah how Adam had a colonoscopy recently and they give anesthesia. And so whenever he comes out of it, you know how you're groggy and weird and foggy. You don't know what the heck's going on and you say dumb stuff. And like Adam has this pattern because I've experienced this with him several times. He is so sweet and so like affectionate and like, I missed you and like super lovey-dovey, which is lovely. But he also like just repeats stuff. So I told her how he was telling me the story about when they were giving him the IV and it didn't go right. And then this happened. But he told me the story 9 times before I had to be like, I can't believe you're telling me this again. And that small event, which happened over a couple hours, really gave me compassion for folks who deal with loved ones with dementia and Alzheimer's, because I know that one of the things that happens is like the repeating of questions and stories and thoughts and how it can make you feel like you, number one, want to kill them and want to kill yourself and just want it to stop. You just want them to stop.
Right. You want to shake them. Stop doing that.
The challenges of taking care of people who have these brain issues.
Yeah.
Work of the Lord, whether you're related to them or whether you work at the facility or whatever.
Really? And I bet some of our listeners do. So,
I mean, it must take a real special person.
It does.
Right?
I love watching. One of my favorite categories of videos to watch on social media are videos of wonderful caregivers and their elderly, like clients, patients, whatever you call them, that they look after. And they'll like like put makeup on them or dance with them and like get really excited about them. Oh my gosh, Miss Jones, look at you. You are looking so good today. They're just like haven't heard that or felt that in so long. It's like a good caregiver is really special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, any kind of, I mean, it makes sense though. Sort of when you're telling me this, the study's findings, it's sort of like, well, yeah, why do you think we put frames all over our freaking house?
Right.
Of pictures.
It does make sense.
We already know this.
I think, this is one of those, I was going to title this like one of those studies where like we didn't need a study to tell us the things that we already know about. But like, I think people kind of get like a little like, oh, we take too many pictures. Oh, we are posting too much.
Live in the now, man.
Yeah. So maybe this is a little bit of that argument for like a happy medium, that having 100%. No pictures. And I like go in the other direction where I'm like, I don't take any pictures when I go. And then I'm like, why the fuck didn't I take any photos?
Yeah, because like, what I was saying to you earlier about the boating trip, it was miserable, but I wasn't miserable because I knew this won't be forgotten.
Right. Pleasurable versus enjoyable.
Yeah.
We talked about that before.
I mean, I knew that this was like one of those things where it's like, you will talk about it 10 years later.
Oh, yeah, you will. Oh, yeah.
And you'll look at those photos and laugh. And
maybe by then Lincoln will admit that he was actually seasick.
Yeah. And if it's like, maybe if we had caught 50 fish, yeah, okay, that's fun in the moment. But like, would you talk about it for 20 years? Probably not. Probably not. It's a fishing trip.
Right.
So I do think documenting can be a real gift.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my little lighthearted one for you.
Yeah. And also I'm mad because when you grew up poor in the 80s, as I did, you do not have video. Like I ask my friends, if you get yours digitized, can you give them to me? Because I don't have any.
Yeah.
I love that. I would love to see them.
Yeah. I remember going through my baby book just a little while ago and having this sense of sadness because I wanted to see more. And there was the sad awareness that this is it. There's no more documentation of that. Like, there are no more photos to look at than the ones. You have all of them. And it's like,
do you have videos?
I don't think so.
Why? You guys had a video
so many.
camera.
I don't know where they went. I don't know what. Maybe my brother has a box of my mom's of photo stuff. It might be in there, but they would have to be digitized, and they're all on those old timey like tapes that we used to put in the. But my parents were in the film industry. I remember my dad having the camcorder on. They definitely had one. The whole thing documented. But yeah. My mom was more into the taking pictures, so we have a lot of those. But
yeah, so keep taking pictures and framing pictures.
Yeah. Can I tell you one more story? But
yeah, please do.
Kind of, it's kind of a downer.
Oh God,
it's
what
not a downer.
Is happening to
I just have to tell you this. It's very important. Have you heard about women in New York getting punched in the face?
What is happening?
Wait, are you saying that because you do know or don't know?
Well, I only know from Tara Marie, our Brainiac, who posted a funny TikTok about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is she talking about?
Are walking down the street and they're like women in their like early 20s, and we're talking like decked.
Yeah, but why?
Like I don't fucking know, and nobody does. And they have one suspect that they caught.
Come on.
Earlier today, there are at least like I heard of at least 4 of these cases, but I think there are more of them.
You're telling me it's one person doing
I don't think it's one person. And that makes me worried that there's some fucking weird incel group that's like, we're going to go do all this. This sounds like a Law and Order SVU episode, does it not?
Yeah.
I am like, hate this. It is so scary because what that does is it creates this like fear, like women can't go. That is not good for us.
So it's only women. And
yes.
Women in their 20s or so.
Yeah. 24, 25. Probably
are they like a certain like white women, black women?
I think I've seen white women, and I think
Latina.
Maybe a Latina woman.
And you're telling me in a city with cameras everywhere.
Correct.
We only have one
And they haven't
guy.
given out any information about motive, about anything. It makes me very nervous that we're going to see a wave of this. And that is so fucking scary. So stay safe out there, women in New York.
And so like they punched them in the face.
And like this woman it was like a fucking golf ball. It was huge. You could watch the goose egg grow on her head. She's like crying. She's like, oh my God, I just got punched in the face.
Punched her in the forehead?
Like, and that could really hurt. Like if you're hit somebody in the temple like that and you're not ready for it,
Jesus.
That's like it. Yeah. Right on the like top of her head, just huge goose egg lump that just developed there, like punched in the face.
I don't like this story at all.
Yeah, it's really scary. And so like we'll keep you updated because that's all I have. But I feel like I have to say it as like a PSA.
I guess.
What's going on?
Do you think it's like, I'm always skeptical.
Well, I feel like this is like a fucking Tide Pod challenge or something for incels.
Yeah, but like, okay, good example, because this is kind of what I think about it. Tide Pod wasn't actually a real thing. There was like one person that accidentally got a hold of one. And then the media is always looking for crap to talk about. And so then it becomes a thing because they do it.
Right.
And so like, given that I don't know who these victims are. Do we actually see these women?
Yes.
Do we actually see
yes.
like the videos? How many did you see?
4.
4 women.
Yes.
In like what, a compilation video or what?
Yes. Of like their different.
Where are you seeing this?
It was on like now this news. Like, I'll bring it up. Where
It's okay. I'm just saying.
Go to my sources.
I'm skeptical and start to think, is this real?
I think,
or did it happen?
It's real. They arrested somebody.
Unhoused weirdo who did it, and then on one day, and then it becomes like everybody's getting punched in the face.
Puberty, Pubity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple women in NYC have reported getting punched in the face. And then I looked it up on news, and then I read something on CBS or something, one of those like major news networks, that said that they had a man in custody and they named him. He was a 40-year-old man. And then they said they have no information about his motive, no information about his ties to any of the other reports. And I think that somebody else was punched after they had him in custody.
Okay.
So it could be that case of like a copycat thing. But look, here, just this image has 6 of them. And look at that one. Look at some of their faces.
Yeah.
That woman's fucking punched.
Yeah.
Punched. Like bruises.
Well, I hope that it's not a thing.
I fucking do too.
But
that
sounds terrible. Stay safe out there. All right. Well, I didn't have any Marys, but when I do indulge in alcohol, I love my naked wine. It's my favorite deal that we have.
Because it's an amazing deal. I was talking to my aunt and she was like, Sarah, how is that possible? I'm like,
it's $100 off.
It's such a good deal. And then we had the wines and she was like, okay, these are amazing.
They're really nice.
Yeah.
And I get a variety. So I get white and red. And sometimes I get like a Prosecco or a sparkling. But I took a quiz. I told them what I like, and then they send me stuff I actually do like. Skip the middleman. Really nice winemakers. I mean,
beautiful bottles and things that aren't like your rate. Like I am so sick and tired
of it.
Of like the same exact bottle. You all know the guy I'm talking about.
You know. And the guy, I am sick of it too. And these are delicious, but this deal is not to be missed. So head to nakedwines.com/braincandy and click enter voucher in the top right and put in brain candy for both the code and password to get 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off, less than $7 per bottle. That's nakedwines.com/braincandy and use the code and password braincandy and grab 6 bottles for just $39.99. One last time, that's nakedwines.com/braincandy. Code and password braincandy for $100 off your first 6 bottles. I also have to tell you, because people get mad when I do not tell them, that we have a guest on this episode. It's Damien Fahey, former MTV VJ.
Yes.
Current writer on Family Guy, and just really fun, nice guy. I just love him, and we're going to, have him on and chat with him. And I really just wanted to talk to him about the We Are the World documentary.
And like old MTV stuff. Hello, we love that.
Yeah, I just finished Dave Holmes' book.
Oh.
I know you're going to be on his podcast coming up. He has a book called Party of One, and I loved it because it was all that 90s, 2000s era.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, because we all miss it. I mean, ridiculousness, no thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had the wonderful pleasure of interviewing Damien Fahey, who you all probably remember as a VJ from MTV during the TRL days, who is a doll baby. I just love him. And he now is a writer for Family Guy. And I just love him because he is Mr. Music, and he posts all kinds of stuff that I love about music. And obviously, if you work at MTV, he has the inside track. And so I love his commentary on it. But I really should have asked him all about his Family Guy shenanigans and all that. But really, I just wanted to talk to him about, MTV and music and We Are the World documentary. And so this is really just for me, let's be honest. But you guys can enjoy it too, because he is so sweet. And I'm fascinated by him because, there was Carson Daly, and then they had sort of the supporting cast of VJs. And during my late night YouTube weirdness where I watch old clips, saw this interview with this guy named Peter LaSalle, and he was on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show, and then he produced Letterman, and he was involved in the casting of, what was the late show that was with the Scottish guy?
Oh.
You know that guy?
Yeah. Oh. Craig Kilborn?
Yes, Craig Ferguson.
Craig Kilborn is somebody.
We got there. Anyway, and he was saying, he mentioned that they had 4 finalists and Damien was one of them. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
I had no idea. So I wanted to talk to him about that and what it was like to sort of try out to be a late night host and then not get it.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be... That's something that would happen to us, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah and I have been down this road many times where it's we want to do this with you. And then we're like, okay. And then they're like,
the number of game shows she and I are supposed to be on.
Game shows. And then they wanted to make, there was this one development company that wanted to do an infotainment show that was Brain Candy Podcast, but a TV show. Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. And we do all this work and get it. And then nothing. That's how it is in the biz, people. Okay. Yeah. That's why we're jaded, old spinsters over here. But anyway, I just think that is fascinating, and I love him, and I hope you love him too. Welcome to the show, Damien Fahey. OMG, I can't believe it's happening. I harassed my beloved Damien Fahey on Brain Candy. Thank you so much. I love you with all my heart.
Oh man, I want to lie and say I'm not uncomfortable with that, but
I just think you're.
Thank you for having me. It's so funny, I mean, it's always funny when people. It's always it's nice because it'll happen where someone will come up to me and go, "I grew up with you," and that's I think for a while I was like, "Oh, that's so weird," and I had all this sort of this issue with it, and now I think I've gotten to. I've lived enough life where I go, that's actually a really nice, special thing that not everyone gets to hear. So I treat it as oh, that's okay, cool. That's really that's a cool thing to be able to hear from someone. So I've learned to take the compliments in, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, just embrace it. Because,
I'm embracing it.
I mean, maybe it's different now because of streaming and all the weirdness, but for that era of time when you were on our television, I mean, it's a real honor to be let into people's living rooms, and especially at that formative age
Yeah.
You know, when we're all just like figuring out who we are, and then we maybe see ourselves reflected in someone like you. That's a lot of pressure, though. I mean, did you feel that?
When I was at the time, I really, going through that experience, and it's funny because my perspective changes as I get older. And I suppose it'll continue to change, but I think I spent so much time not trying to feel anything really, because it was just so overwhelming. I was kind of pushed into the job. I didn't really want the job until I auditioned, and then I had a good time at the audition, and I got some laughs, and I was like, I want this job, and then of course I get put on the stage, and I'm like, do I want this job? Can I do this job? Why am I here? I'm just a guy, like I was just a kid from Boston and doing part-time radio, and now I'm here. So, I think I just had so much of my mental hard drive was spent just like almost just plowing through the experience and not getting fired and not having it like completely implode somehow. I was just really trying to keep the train on the tracks, sort of speak, because it was just completely overwhelming for me.
Yeah, because your entire career is unusual in terms of the trajectory, because you're a guy who you loved radio and you were doing that in Boston. And what was it about radio that you found compelling? What was it that appealed to you?
I don't know how deep you guys get on this show here, but after many years of therapy, I realized, like my therapist actually told me, why possibly I got into radio, and I was so obsessed with it. And it was really, I'm an only child, so I have, two awesome parents, and they're great and everything, but there was that instinct, I think, to really like be in everything, sort of overseeing everything that I'm doing, or at least, be provide feedback about, and so I wanted, my therapist says I was so I felt so under the microscope, whether it was actually happening or not, until I perceived it. He said, of course you went into a room where you could lock the door and control the communication going out and coming back in.
No.
And in that room, you felt safe and you could express yourself however you wanted. And so look, that's a theory. That's like a deep psychological theory. Yeah. The other theory is I turned on the television one day and I saw a radio simulcast, and I just was like, everything, the microphone, the blinking lights, the board, and then, being able to this microphone goes to, on a transmitter and goes out to people, and then the whole job is just playing music. I love music, and so that was probably, it was probably a mix of both of those things.
Yeah, because my sense about you, based on the very limited amount of information I have, is that you're not attention seeking. Often people in the entertainment industry that are on air have that element.
Yeah.
But it feels like you genuinely love connection.
Yeah. It's funny. I had so much, I always tell the story, when I got the job at MTV, I spent, and it sounds so silly, and it sounds like I'm making it up, but I spent so many mornings where I'd wake up and I'd open my eyes and I'd be calm. And then I would think about, oh my God, I have to do this job. Yeah. And I would go to the bathroom and I'd be so nervous that I would end up like dry heaving almost every morning, to be just the realization of, and now, and I would just sort of be like, you know what? It's a great job. You're lucky to be here. I just was like, just get through it. And now with time, and that's kind of the beauty of getting older, which I love, there's some things I don't love about getting older, but I love like the beauty of getting older, because you start to, you gain so much more perspective on yourself, and you get a deeper sense of yourself. And I think a big part of that whole experience was not knowing that really isn't my natural state. Like I like being on television. I liked telling jokes on television. I like being funny. I like talking to people. the weird thing was after the show, or even like walking out to like the crowd, like clapping and cheering, that made me incredibly uncomfortable. And then at night, it's like walking a red carpet gave me complete and utter anxiety. I never want to get another red carpet in my life. If I never have to be on another red carpet, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was just a lot of anxiety about that. To me, that was the whole celebrity part of it. Look, it had its perks, right? I got to stand on the side of the stage and watch Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers play with Dave Grohl next to me and Taylor Hawkins, and we, marveling at the band at a concert. So there were those moments like that, but they were always rooted in like music, in my appreciation and love of music. And so all the other stuff, Damien, it turned to the left. We want to get a picture. Oh, who you dating? All that stuff made me incredibly uncomfortable. And I'm not a limelight guy. Like, I mean, to me, I'm a writer for Family Guy now. And, for me, I feel like all my EQ dials for my personality are perfectly adjusted, because I get to perform, because I'll do voices on the show. I get to be funny in a room, which checks that box. I get to take my time and like write a script and work and edit and be thoughtful. I get to, I'm sort of seen as like the pop culture music guy on the show, which is great. So there's just so many, it's like the limelight, but not the limelight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the perfect mix and balance for your temperament.
Yeah.
Right, because you are clearly very passionate about music, but I imagine, given my experience with MTV, I can only imagine what you've endured, but they're more, it's like a caricature. I'm sure you felt some sort of pressure to be like monkey dance type of thing.
Yeah, I think for a while, when I got the job, I was just psyched, and then I started doing the job, and then it was a lot of self-doubt. And I don't want to by the way, I had a great. It was. Of course, I would not change it, and I.
No, but it's complex.
I know, and I wasn't I don't know, smelting iron or anything in like a factory, right? Okay, I was like on television in my 20s in New York with like the greatest job that you could ever have. So I realized that, but also like internally, that coexisted with like the stuff it brought up. True. That it brought up in me. So I forget what your question. Did I feel like a dancing monkey basically?
Well, kind of
a little bit, yeah. Like I always felt like I couldn't fully express my personality on the show, and I was like, I just have a feeling like I just want to be funny. Like I want to make this, like I want to write jokes and be funny. And so there wasn't really much of an avenue for that on the show. It wasn't about me. Carson would always say TRL. They'd ask him, well, how do you like, why is it tough playing in sync videos? We know you like Korn or whoever it is. And, and so he would always say, I look at the job like I'm a bartender, and maybe I don't like a Sex on the Beach, but if someone orders a Sex on the Beach, I'm going to make a Sex on the Beach. And if they ask how it's made, I'll tell them how it's made. So that's how, the show I wasn't the star of the show, which I liked. That's good. But, there was definitely a part of it where I was like, oh, I want to do, there was just something inside me of like,
a creative component that wasn't being fulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. And now and when I did the Late Late Show, I was, I went out there when Craig Kilborn stopped hosting it. I was one of the 4 guys to take
we got to
over.
talk about that because
that was one of the greatest. I think probably one of the greatest moments of my life was.
Oh my God! This is okay.
Yeah, that was really.
This is what made me reach out to you because I am kind of obsessed with like Johnny Carson era late night, that whole vibe. So I'm always watching those videos on YouTube. And so the algorithm suggested this video of Peter LaSalle talking about that period where they were trying to decide who was going to host the Late Late Show.
Yeah.
And I about died when he said you, and I was totally unfamiliar with this part of your history. And I really am fascinated. Do you tell me everything?
Well, yeah. I mean, Kilborn left.
How did you end up in the mix?
I got called out when I was a big fan of the show, and I, with a fellow writer of mine before TRL one day, we were both huge fans of the Kilborn show. He'd have his writers on, do little bits and stuff. And there was this one writer, Goldie, who oddly, he's my coworker at Family Guy now. I work with him. But I was such a big fan of his. I thought, man, he's so funny. And this other guy, Mike Gibbons, who was the showrunner. They're both writers. And so one day before TRL, I was with my writer friend and who worked on the show, Joel. And we were like, let's just call CBS in LA. We're bored. We got like an hour to kill before the show. Let's see if we can talk to Goldie.
As one does.
And we did. And we was like, kind of started a friendship with him. And then and then I met Mike Gibbons through him. Mike Gibbons was the showrunner of Craig Kilborn's show while it was on. And then when Craig quit, Goldie was like, well, we're doing all these host auditions. We got David Duchovny. We got, Adam Carolla. We got Drew Carey. All these people are coming through. And we're trying to find a new host, basically. Unofficial sort of auditions. And everyone's getting like 2 or 3 nights. Jason Alexander did it. And so he said, you should do it. You should do a night. And my first instinct was, what? No, too scary.
Yeah, it is
and then
scary.
He said, no, you should. Gibbons is going to put your name in the ring and whatever. And so, after TRL one day, I got a phone call from Mike Gibbons. And I checked the voicemail.
Were you dying?
And he said, yeah. He goes, dude, I just sold you so hard to a 90-year-old man. He was talking about Peter LaSalle, to an 80-year-old man. And he wants you to host, a night. And it was like the night before Thanksgiving or something, some night where like no one was watching anyway. But so it's like, yeah, put the 24-year-old on, whatever, the MTV guy.
Wait, but okay. So he says this. What was your thought?
I was psyched because to me, it was like, there it is. There's the where I can be myself a little bit more. I can showcase my avenue of like, I can go down the avenue of like comedy, which I'm like, oh, I want to try it. I want to see if I'm good at it. Like I need to know. And so for me, I was psyched. And also I had been writing monologue jokes for that I'd send into to Craig Kilborn with my friend Joel. And sometimes we get them on. And also in my spare time, I would just come up with like, inspired by Letterman, growing up with Letterman. It's like in Conan, really. But like I'd have these, think of these bits that I would, and so I'd write down these bits. And I remember I did when I hosted the show, they said, bring in any bits or comedy that you want to do. And one of the bits that I came up with was this bit called Are They Elderly? Based on their shoes. And so what it would be is we went to the farmer's market and we shot B-roll of people's shoes. And then it'd be the image of the shoe. And then the audience, I'd have to ask the audience or a guest, what do you think? Based on the shoes, is this an elderly person? And then they'd say, yes, I think it is. And then you'd pan up slowly up the pants, up to the face. And then it'd be like this, the reveal. So I did that. And I thought it was just for some reason, shoes make me laugh. I don't know. People's shoes are hilarious to me. So if they're the right shoes, they're funny to me. So I remember pitching it and I did it on the show. And I after all was said and done and they ended up, I did that one night, I got an email from Mike Gibbons and he said, you did great. And there was a guy at our company, high up at our company, who really loved your bit, who thought you did a really good job, and he really loved that Are They Elderly based on their shoes bit. And that man is David Letterman.
No.
And I read this, and David Letterman's like a god, still is,
I can't.
And that's, again, another one of those moments where I'm like, wow. And I remember I printed out the email. I don't know where it is now, but I printed it out, and I was just like reading it. And I think I might have even like got emotional about it. It was sort of like this, when you suspect, like when you have something in you that you go, I think it feels right. And then you get confirmation from someone.
So validating.
Anyone, but let alone David Letterman, who's like, to me, he's a god. So that was, so anyway, he gave me a week to audition, and I didn't get ultimately chosen because
I'm mad about it.
Yeah, well, the story that I heard, and Peter LaSalle, my manager had told me, because he was friends with David Letterman's partner at the company, because they had done Everybody Loves Raymond together. But he had talked to this guy, Rob Burnett, and he said, basically Letterman said, looked at the tapes, and Letterman said, I think he got through 2 tapes. He watched Ferguson, and then he watched me. And then he was like, give it to the kid. I like the kid. And, I always was like, that's a great story, but I feel like it might not be true, and
I think it's
and then I watched that Peter LaSalle video that you were talking about, and he confirms it. He was like, Dave liked the kid from MTV.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
do you love it? I mean, that's so special.
Yeah, it's really, really special. And it's just one of those moments that you just kind of take with you. And
well, in that moment, did you feel at peace about it, or were you like tortured, or somewhere in the middle?
No, I mean, I was very excited, when I heard that. And then when I got to do the week, it was, it's funny because the night that I did, when I did the one night hosting the late night show, I was like, I'm not getting this. There are no stakes.
Right.
I went out there
you
and
could
had
enjoy
such a good time. Yeah. And I was really myself.
Yeah.
And then once the realization hit, where I was like, oh.
Yeah, Damien, because it sounds like, do you remember how when you were auditioning to be a VJ, and you like didn't give a shit, and you just were like, what else? Right. And all those guys were in the waiting room, and they were like so nervous. And so it was to your advantage that like you weren't invested in the outcome. It sounds like that.
Yes.
Where then as soon as you were invested, it's almost like you get in your head or something.
Yeah. I tend to tighten up.
We all do. It's so relatable.
Yeah. And I was really able to be myself that first night, which was
I
really
bet you were still amazing for all of the nights though.
I haven't ever watched back those. It's hard to watch. I don't really like watching that kind of stuff. Every now and what's nice is every now and again, because I always found it in my head, I'm like, I don't want to see any of that stuff, that from my 20s. I'm just like, oh my God, because I'm a little, I don't know, for some reason I'm like, I'm not, but every now and again, someone on Instagram will share like a clip of me, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I bite the bullet and I watch it, and I'm like, this is going to be brutal. And it's never as bad as it is in my head,
The memory of it.
And that's one of the big lessons I've learned in, working in entertainment is it's never as great as it is in your head, and it's never as bad as it is in your head,
Yeah, and like we're all busy and doing
it's kind
stuff.
of in the middle. Yeah. It's like,
but like,
oh, I killed that. It's like, you know what? You did a nice solid
Medium.
B+, or whatever.
But you're real special because you never, ever act like an arrogant asshole. And a lot of people in Hollywood do.
Well, especially, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I was never like that, honestly. And maybe I had a couple moments. I remember I had a couple moments in my 20s where it was just the pressure, and maybe I snapped a couple times at, a couple people at work, but
you were human. Yeah,
to me, it was always just like I always felt like I was on the outside, sort of looking in, but from almost not from like I'm a little bit of a I don't belong here thing, for sure. But I think a lot of it was like, this is so silly. Like, why does Diddy need 20 people to come in like with him? Like Tom Hanks comes in with like one guy, and it's like his friend. He's not even employed. You know what I mean? It's like, you would just sort of see when you watch it. I mean, obviously when you see things on television, they're one way, but when you see the gears in like how the sausage is made, you start to realize that these people are just people, obviously, and in that it's kind of we're all doing a pretty silly thing, you know?
Yeah, but that perspective is so unusual.
Hard to take it serious. It was hard to take it serious for me. But I also think that was my way of not allowing myself, like, the comedy and treating it like that, and that view of it was my way of being able to handle it mentally, you know, and not be like, oh, this is a huge, you're steering this massive ship,
right?
You know, and it's like you're at the very, tip of the spear with like pop culture and all. It just, and so I know I couldn't handle that now. That's just not, I don't.
Do you feel like you kind of maybe dodged a bullet a little bit because your time more in the public eye was sort of pre-digital shenanigans, social media? Because that would be that's a lot of pressure too.
It is a lot of pressure. I will say, like I think it was, even when you go to a concert, everyone has their phones out and everything. And look, I don't want to, I get it. I have my phone out too. I post them, but I'll do it tonight. I'm going to Robert Glasper. It's like Grammy weekend. I've got 3 concerts, so I'll post video and stuff. So I do it too. But there wasn't as much of a sense of like removal from the moment. I feel like in a way, I was more engaged in what was happening.
Yeah.
I was, it's cheesy. I was more present, I guess, as opposed to now. It's like I haven't been to a nightclub in years, and I don't really want to go to a nightclub. But I would imagine now it's a lot of it's like everywhere else. It's a lot of cell phones, so there was less of a self-conscious vibe back then. You go out, you're just kind of having fun.
Yeah.
There were cameras, Canon Power Shots that weighed, 17 pounds, but it was a pain in the ass to bring those, to keep it in your pocket. So a lot of people didn't have them, but now with phones, it's like there's a lot more of a who's watching, do I look good, who am I around, so it's
self-aware.
And it's just really hard to really let loose and have a good time. And I think we're sort of seeing like that, in society. It's the island's getting smaller and smaller with those kind of experiences. But I think that's why the concert business is booming after, the pandemic. And it's because it's one of those moments. People are dying for those moments where they're not thinking about how many likes is this getting? How am I being perceived? What is this going to, blah, blah, blah. Is this good for how is this good? You're just in the moment. And it's like this, that's a big reason why I love music, but it's just like, it's just a pure thing and it's just a pure experience. And I think that's like worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Well, in my PhD is in religious studies, and we often think about these people that identify now as the nuns, which are people that are not affiliated with any religious tradition. And I think for a lot of them, what you're describing at a live music experience is the transcendence that they maybe would have previously had at church or whatever in a spiritual experience. Don't you feel like that when you're at a concert? It's something special. Yeah.
It's to me, music is, it's my favorite thing in life. It's, above everything else. I could give up everything before I could give up listening to music. I love it.
Well, I'm so impressed too that like your experience in the entertainment business has not ruined that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Aren't you glad?
Well, I think I'm really glad that I didn't get burnt out on music. I think if I was working in the music business, I think maybe I could. I have a lot of friends who are, professional drummers or professional musicians, and there are a few of them who go, I go home and I watch television. I work in television, so I come home and I listen to music. They're like, what do you watch? Hey, have you seen? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm listening. No, but I am listening to Oscar Peterson's album, We Get Requests. That's what's on my thing right now. Or like SOS Band's album from like 1986, whatever, so I'm like, that's kind of, so I just, of course I watch some things, but I think when I come home, it's like, I want to do sort of go to the place where I'm not at all
it's
day.
good for the soul.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and I always, part why I was drawn to radio, a big part of it was the music, being able to sit in the studio and listen to, play these songs that I really liked and get to listen to them. And then, with MTV, it was a lot of music that I didn't connect with, and that's, but there was a lot of music that obviously a lot of bands that came through that I was really in awe of, and I got to meet a lot of great people and stuff. And to me, musicianship it's a bit like meeting like a really great pro basketball player, where you just go, I could practice my jump shot for, the rest, for 40 years, every day, 19 hours a day, and I could not be as good as this person. And when I meeting these top level people like Steve Ferroni and, these drummers who are just phenomenal. Yeah. They have a thing that I'm like, it's magic. That's exactly what it is. It's like this magic, which is, I love it. And I can't get enough of it, because I'm like, I got to get a piece. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, when I play drums, I'm like, I got to get I got to get a piece of that Steve Ferroni thing. I got to get a piece of that Steve Jordan thing. I got to, so it's sort of like a fun little thing to chase. But
I feel the same. Like, I hate sports, but then I'll watch like The Last Dance about Michael Jordan, and
same.
The excellence.
Yeah, no interest in sports at all. Love the story. The story is like, I mean, that's like the Olympics. That's how they get people into the Olympics. They're like, okay, we can't just show a gymnast. We got to show her parents, her mom has stage 4.
What did she overcome?
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. This is the last vault she'll ever see.
Yeah, but then just like, the excellence, as you said, that you could try forever, and that would never be something you personally could do. Yes. It's magic.
I love it. And I think it's so exciting. And I think it's also like, like when I listen to like someone like Stevie Wonder, it's amazing that a human being was able to create this stuff. And also I think I'm a human being too. We're kind of all, we're all separate human beings, but we're also kind of all, not to get too, but like, we're kind of all made of the same stuff, and it's like what an accomplishment for just like humanity, that there's an album called Songs in the Key of Life, or
I'm telling you, it makes life worth living, because you watch.
It's exciting. That, like, this is there's so much. That's another thing, social media and stuff. There's so much bad news, and there's so much crap and shit, and when you listen to great music, it's like, man, what an accomplishment that like we made as a species, that someone, made, and obviously like people, like if you hear a great album, it's the artist drew from previous artists. Yeah. So really the album is by this person, but it's also kind of by other people. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just, I think it's an awesome thing.
Yeah. And I feel your enthusiasm and I share it. And it does feel like a salve to all the garbage that's, life can bring. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the We Are the World documentary.
Oh, man.
Can we just quickly, I know like you're like, that has nothing to do with me, but like I knew you'd be into it.
No. It definitely, no. I mean, I would do like sort of a yearly screening of all of those videos on YouTube. Just so interesting to me. And it's funny, I watched it. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, Kenny Rogers can absolutely demolish a cheeseburger. Did you see that clip? That clip of him, like the wrapper was like still half on it, and he just like took one bite and it like disappeared. That was awesome. And then, is there anyone you want to root for more than Huey fucking Lewis?
I mean,
how he is like when they say people are like Wilburys. That dude is a fucking he's just such a good. You could just. But he's like
Huey was so humble, and meanwhile, his vocals are amazing.
He's one of my favorite singers and songwriters, and that's one of my favorite bands. They're they're incredible. But no, that documentary was great, and Lionel Richie is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
and the way
tip
he
of the
closed
hat.
it out with that quote from his father, it made me emotional.
Yeah.
Because I'm so bad at remembering jokes and quotes, but so I'm going to botch it. But it was, you can, every time you go home, really cherish it, because there's going to be a time where you can go home, but it's not going to be home. It'll be the house, but it won't be the home.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was in line. I was like, I'm in the house, but it's not the home because everyone's not. And I thought that was really...
It's so moving.
So moving. Yeah. So moving. And then also another thing that I realized too is, and I posted a clip of will.i.am talking about AI, making AI music, and how most of the music today kind of sounds like AI music anyway. Like not most music, but pop music. It's all, it's all calculated, and the drum has to be perfect with the guitar. And he goes, his point was, we have to start making music that sounds human again, because AI can't make human sounding music.
That's so true.
It can only make AI algorithmic sounding music. Why, as human beings, are we spending all this time making music that sounds like a computer made it?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, after watching this documentary, if you did this session today, you'd have Ariana Grande in Paris recording her vocals. You'd have Taylor Swift recording out of Nashville. They'd all send them in over email. No one would be in the same room. They'd record, saying, I'm sure it would sound fine, but it would sound so stiff and so stale. And it's because the magic and all the performances were fantastic, but all those performances were buoyed by the exact experience that they were all having together at the same time. And so I think what a gift it is to be a species that can get together, create, listen to other people, be inspired by other people.
Right.
You're playing this. Oh, that makes me think of this. I was gonna do this. You know what? I'm gonna change it to this. This gives me an idea, and to create. It's like, and it's such an old school. They don't really record like that anymore. And I'm thinking, and look, I get it. There's a lot of music business is different. There's not the money to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper to do it in your bedroom on a computer, and everyone sends in their parts. But I just think it's a bit of an insult to this gift that we have, is like being able to be human beings and being able to interact and record and create music with one another when we choose not to do that.
That is what I meant earlier when I said that I think that you're about connection, because it's greater than just sort of creating a song. That's nice. But if you can create a song and connect as like a unit, that's magic. That's magic.
And, of all the people, I've heard such horror stories about Diana Ross. Oh, over the years, Diana Ross is, she's a diva and this and that. Who knows what's true? I don't know. You hear that about other people and you meet them. I heard about people who come to TRL and then I meet them and they're really nice. So who knows? But that was kind of my view of Diana Ross up until I saw I'm sure she's had her moments, but I thought she had one of the most beautiful parts of that. And it was... Because you start to see it starts and everyone's there and it's exciting, and then it starts getting like a bit of a slog.
I know.
And then people start leaving one by one, and I started to get sad. I'm like, there was Paul Simon, and now he's not there, and now that moment is over forever. And then Diana Ross is like, I don't want this night to end.
Yeah.
Quincy, I'm sad to leave. Why? I just don't want this night to end.
Talk about in the moment, right? She didn't even want the moment to end. She was so in it.
Yes, right. And I love that. I think that's what's more exciting than that? Like,
right. That's living.
If they all recorded separately, none of them would talk about that experience the way they talk about it now. There wouldn't be
Why?
the excitement.
Is that
There
true?
wouldn't be the excitement. There's just, recording at home in a studio.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be the stories, Stevie wouldn't be playing, his version
Oh my gosh,
of the
when he
song.
helped
Ray
Bob
Charles'
Dylan?
version of the song. Exactly. Right. And then Bruce's moment with his Bruce meets his idol, Bob Dylan, calls him Dylan, which was funny. Great job, Dylan.
Good job. Yeah.
It's a beautiful film, and I'm definitely gonna watch it again. But that, to me, that it was more than just a sort of a documentary about the song, about that. It was just to me, it was like a reminder of like, how capable we are of, making connections and then that sort of transferring to the music and,
Yeah, and if people follow that instruction that Lionel had of leaving your ego at the door, you can make something really special.
That's right, Prince.
That guy.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm a big Prince fan. But yeah, I'm not,
But I feel probably at the core of that is crippling insecurity or whatever. Yeah. And that is forgivable too, because we're all so human.
Totally. Absolutely. I know he when he would record vocals, it was like no one can watch him record vocals,
Can you imagine being insecure with that kind
of him in a room
talent?
with 30 people singing, it's like, well, Prince isn't going to do that, And then, of course, I think I did hear Huey Lewis talk about, I think he was on Questlove's podcast, and was it Huey Lewis, or was it was James Brown, Prince's old manager. He was talking about, he had said that Michael had written the part that Michael wanted Prince to sing, because there was that rivalry.
Yeah.
Michael had intentionally written, or Prince suspected that Michael had intentionally written a little out of Prince's range. So Prince thought it was like a trap.
No.
Like he was trying to trap Prince into sounding like not. Yeah. There was that rivalry.
I think maybe Michael would have done that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you don't get that big without like this.
Right.
It's like the Jordan documentary,
Right,
he would remember like the baggage claim, like he'd bet on like whose luggage is coming. I mean, that's like, it's like, it's like pathological. It's like, it's real competitiveness, and you don't get to that level, obviously, unless you have a little bit of that in you.
But that's why I feel so inspired by people like you and people that I've met in the entertainment business who seem somehow, even after all these years in the business, to maintain a real humanity and a lack of cynicism. I'm sure, we're all people, but it's special. And I just want to applaud you. And because the things that you post really are effective. I remember one time you posted this clip of Huey Lewis in the news singing the national anthem at a baseball game. And I think you were saying how they're underrated maybe. Yeah. And I mean, I kept sharing it because that was incredible. And it's just like this silly clip, but it's a reminder of the extraordinary talent people can have.
Yeah, I posted a clip yesterday of lead singer of the Gap Band, Charlie Wilson, who I'm a huge fan of. I just saw him last weekend. He did a birthday show out here. But Snoop was talking about, he got a star on the Walk of Fame, and he was back. They were getting ready to, in front of the big black SUV, and Charlie and Snoop were talking, and Snoop was sort of, as they say, giving him his flowers. And I realize that needs to happen more. And you always hear it. Someone passes away, and one of the worst feelings is not expressing how you feel or how someone made you feel, or And so I try to, I try to shine a light a little bit.
It's
give
so
people
great.
some. Huey Lewis Huey Lewis out there from the 80s, right? Kind of like they're kind of like written off, And I'm like, no, these dudes these are great, perfectly written pop songs, great musicians, great, structure, songs. It's great. It's art. It's like, and And I feel that way about, Phil Collins too. A lot of people are like, oh, Phil Collins, like dentist music. And I'm like, no. I'm like,
I am appalled.
Phil Collins is one of the top 5 drummers of all time, if not top 3, if not in, at the very top.
Don't you feel like frustrated sometimes? Because my favorite band is the Beach Boys, and I really hate having to defend.
Yeah, like, oh, that's like, let's go surfing and
I'm really mad.
Go to the beach. Yeah, and it's like, no. You don't know.
Don't you feel exhausted by that, or you just are like, just gonna?
I do. I get passionate. I had my best friend in New York. Last time I went, I go to New York a couple times a year to kind of get my mind right and wander around the city, and I get to play music. We go in a rehearsal space. We play cover songs for a few hours. But he was like, Lionel Richie, sell me on Lionel Richie. How is he? Is he? And he was kind of putting him off. Like, I'm like,
mad.
I go, the Commodores.
Yeah.
The Commodore. And I go, try writing. Do you know how hard it is? People think people sort of laugh off like these pop. Well, it's just dancing on the ceiling. And try writing a song that has that magic, in it. That moves so many people. It's a gift. And, he's a big Bob Dylan fan. I go, look, he's not Bob Dylan, but I go, the cool thing about Lionel Richie is he's not pretending to be Bob Dylan. He knows he's Lionel Richie. And and by the way, Bob Dylan couldn't write a Lionel Lionel Richie song.
That's for sure.
So there's room for everybody, obviously.
Yes.
But yeah, sometimes, I can get kind of heated about like, no, you don't get it, and I have to always also be like, some people don't like, some people don't like Radiohead. Some people don't like, Dave Matthews Band. Some people don't like Jackson Brown, Tom Petty.
It's okay if they don't like it, but I don't like when they act like they're not talented. That really gets me. Yeah.
It's rare that someone would do that. They might be like, I don't really like the music, but yeah, the band's really good, or something like that. And it's like, okay, but it's rare. I don't think anyone has ever come up to me and said, Tom Petty's terrible. Like, oh, no.
Well, but they might say, like, what's the fuss about? And the Beach Boys. And I'm like, what's the fuss about?
I know. I like that. Like, what's the fuss about is good, at least, because it's like they're open,
Oh, okay.
Well,
See, you're so positive.
Yeah, well, it's like there's an opening. It's not like Beach Boys suck. All they sing about is surfboards and station wagons with wood on the side of them. It's like...
Right, they're woodies.
Yeah, it's like, the guys love the beach. And I'm like, look, Jimmy Buffett loved the beach. The Beach Boys were geniuses.
I've already kept you too long, and I didn't even really get to talk about your freaking amazing Family Guy career and how
it's the best job.
You're just really... I don't understand. It's almost like frustrating how you have so much talent. Like you can be on air and behind the, like, it's a little much, Damien.
Oh, well, like I said before we started, I'm not good at taking compliments. I try not to think about anything too much. Well, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I have things I love and I just get into them, It's like I have like 5 things in life that I love. Everything else, I don't, whatever, but like I just love them and I get into them and I get passionate about them. And I try to do the best. I try to do the best, each one of those things to the best of my ability. And it's easy to do when you love it,
What makes you laugh? Like what's funny to you?
Oh man. My favorite show of all time is the BBC version of The Office with Ricky Gervais.
Okay.
That to me is so funny.
Okay.
I had Seinfeld on last night. I love Seinfeld. Frasier I love. I love Larry David.
Yeah.
I love I don't know. I hear you. That's my kind of comedy, but The Office, it's just sort of the uncomfortable. I love British humor so much. To me, it's sort of like the apex, like they nailed it, they got it, and they're so good at it. And to me, that
it tickles you.
Yeah, that's kind of my favorite stuff. Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
you're a treasure. I had one of my listeners.
Thanks for having me.
wanted to know something and I shared this interest.
Sure.
Do you long for the days of MTV that people always sort of joke about?
Yeah,
the
it's
music?
funny.
Yeah.
Well, do I long for, like, if I could, is that like sort of like, do I long for those, for the time period, or do I long
For
to
it
like
to
be
still
back?
be like that?
For me to have that job and everything?
No, just for like MTV to still be a place where you could watch.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think I love streaming. I use it all the time. But
yeah.
The thing that I miss, and I think the thing that, again, you talk about connecting people. You walk into a party now and it's not, did you see the Cheers finale? It's like, hey, are you watching? Oh no, I'm watching this. What are you watching? I'm watching this. So we're all kind of, every now and again, a big show comes on. We're all watching Breaking Bad or whatever. But we're also viewing, kind of in our own little corners now. And with that job and that time period, it was, as they call it, like the mono culture, where it was everyone was on the same page.
Special.
And it was, to me, that I like what's going on now, but I think it's almost like if I could find a happy medium between now and then that time period of, I just wish more people were sort of on the same page. That's why when I see the Taylor Swift shows at SoFi sell out 6 nights in a row, I'm not, I don't listen to Taylor Swift. I'm a fan of Taylor Swift. I like what she's doing. I've met her a bunch, and she's really awesome. Really sweet person. But when I listen to her music, it's not for me, but I love it. To me, it was heartwarming to see, especially young people, all these young people leave their houses, put their phones, well, they had their phones out, but put their phones, get off TikTok for a little bit.
Yeah.
I know I sound like an old guy yelling at a cloud, but to me, it was like this big communal experience, and it was like and obviously they felt so deeply, about that, and I just thought it was really beautiful that finally there's Taylor Swift who can get everyone almost everyone, on the same page.
Yes,
and I just think that's, in a way, it's nostalgic, in a way, it's I don't know. It makes me optimistic for like.
Oh, that's nice. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
But would I want to go back? I don't know. I wouldn't want to go back. But I think like that time period, there is something to be said about, 80s, 90s, 2000s, before the music business kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the golden era.
It was.
We ask everybody one last thing before they go. If you have a car, what do you keep in the trunk of your car?
I do have a car. I'm going to be very honest with you right now.
Oh, no.
This might be I don't want to end on a depressing note. I just want to, I'm so happy. I'm the happiest I've been in my life. Ever.
That's nice.
So I'll say that. But my car, I call it my divorce car, because I had to like move up. We sold. I got a divorce with my ex-wife. We're still friends, by the way. We share a dog. It's totally fine. Like we
joint custody of the dog.
Yeah, joint custody of the dog. We still text. I'm friends with their family still and everything's fine. It's very amicable. But it was a dark period in my life, and so I had to take that car and sort of like put stuff of mine in the car and like take it to the Airbnb that I was living at for a few months before I bought my new place, and so in that trunk, I haven't opened it, I'll be honest, in over like a year.
Shut up!
Because I'm afraid of what I'm going to find in there. It's just going to be like...
You're lying.
No, I'm serious. It's old like stuff from like that period of my life that wasn't, that wasn't working, obviously. And so that is what is in my trunk right now. And then there's also some things in the back. My car is a mess, and I don't like that because I'm a very clean, orderly kind of a person, but I've completely given up on the car. The lease is up in June. I can't wait to get rid of it. And then I think probably in late May, I'm going to pop that trunk open and see what the hell
This is crazy because our theory is that whatever's in the trunk of your car sort of is reflective and represents where you are in your life.
Interesting.
And at the top of my notes, I wrote this word about you: mysterious.
Wow.
And
really?
Yeah, and I feel like this is accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in the trunk of your car still.
That's right. Well, there's also a few bodies.
It took a dark turn.
There are some, yes, there is, yeah.
What do you suspect is in there? Just this
I
and
think
that?
I remember putting a large trash bag full of, like documents, like old, and I'm like, and I gotta like shred it because it probably has sensitive info. I don't know. So, and then I think there's also just like audio gear from my old studio in my house and stuff.
If you ever find out what's in there, you can let me know.
You know what I should do is, I don't know, whoever did are you old enough to remember the Geraldo opening the vault?
Yeah, it was such a letdown. Right.
I mean, I was like 6 or whatever, but it was like, there was nothing in it, So I'm like, I got to get the people who did that, Damien opens his trunk. Yeah, Damien opens his divorce trunk.
Oh my gosh.
It could be like, one of those, what are the shows where it's like they bid on a storage space?
Yeah, Storage Wars.
Storage Wars. I could get a Storage Wars going and we get some bids and then I pop it open and it's, it's a bunch of tax forms from 2004.
Right. We're going to dedicate this interview to R.I.P. Gazpacho.
Oh, yeah.
Our beloved cat.
Can I add to, it's funny you mentioned that. I had to put down his sister, Dakota, on Tuesday night.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was really hard. And she was 21 years old. Yeah.
What?
And she kind of just like died from old age. She just couldn't walk and she, couldn't make it to the bathroom and she would like, there was no like cancer or she beat, kidney disease and just this awesome cat. Anyway, she took care of Gazpacho like a mom. And so let's throw her.
Oh my gosh.
Dedicate it to both of them. Yeah. My first animals in life.
And Gazpacho, thank you so much for coming on. I just can't thank you enough for your delight. I just adore you.
I feel like we could talk for another.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. It's great. It was great.